Hello, everybody. It's time once again for another Bookerman video. Now, it's been a while since I made any video. I was trying to think about what to make. I had some ideas in mind, but some of those kind of fell through, and I kind of changed my mind on them. I might make some form of those, but anyway. So I do a Bookerman video because I've had this idea running around my head for a while. Two ideas. One is a little more detailed, even for a 33-minute video. So I'll stick to the one that basically covers just a few months in this version because this is a different story. This is basically like a few months long. But before I start that, I'd like to say, because today is International Non-Binary Day, I'd like to say, you know, everybody who's watching this who's non-binary, you are valid. You're amazing. There are a lot of people in this world who want to invalidate you and try to treat you bad. They're nothing but hateful, disgusting bigots. Don't let them bring you down. Because you are valid. You do matter. Non-binary people are awesome. In fact, I've yet to meet a non-binary person that is bad. And, maybe that's generalization, but that's the way I've seen it. I haven't met one. And shout out to Sora. How you doing? We're doing great watching this. You probably know where this video's going. And also, if what I just said about non-binary identities and non-binary people, if that makes you feel bad, or if you don't like that, leave my channel. I don't care. I don't really give a shit. I don't want bigoted assholes watching my shit. I don't care. if you wanna call me a snowflake or something, place, I don't give a fucking shit. But all right, now all that's on. Now we're done with that. Although, still happy International Non-Binary Day to all the beasts of the world. Let's get to the Bookerman. We're gonna be talking about two very specific scenarios. Basically, I'm gonna rebook the Bob Backlund 1994 WWF World Title reign, as well as Diesel's world title, not his entire world title reign, how he won the title, because that's going to kind of play into that. And there's going to be several other things we're going to rebook too, but it's all kind of connected. So let's start with, Survivor Series 94. Nearly 27 years ago. Wow, how does time fly by? But anyway, Bob Backlund beat Bret Hart. He felt like God. He did it with some help because Owen Hart threw in the towel. It is really well done. If you haven't seen the match, it's great. Bob Backlund, Owen Hart tricked his mom to throw in the towel, and he screwed his brother over. So, and Bob Backlund, it was a submission match. Technically, Bret Hart was in the crossface chicken wing. And after Bob Backlund, after this, he had a show in Madison Square Garden before Raw, because this was the days when Survivor Series was on a Thursday, I believe, and Raw was on a Monday. Like 3 days later, like that Saturday, he was scheduled to defend. It was supposed to be a rematch of him and Bret, but Bret was injured, but he was actually selling. But instead, Diesel, who just turned face at Survivor Series a few days earlier, came in Madison Square Garden, and he kicked him in the gut and powerbombed him and became the new champion. And Jack Knight powerbombed him in about 3 seconds. And that's when, in my opinion, where things already started going wrong. Because Bob Backlund was a good heel. A good wrestler. He's never eaten marijuana. He's a guy you could build up very well. And they had built him up very well. And he just beat your top face in Bret Hart. Even though it was kind of a dirty win, he still beat him. So, if you were going to have Diesel beat him, why wouldn't you have people, even though Madison Square Garden is a big event, this was like a match I think that wasn't announced or anything, and also it was a 3-day reign. It's just very badly booked. And Diesel right after this, I do not like the way Diesel acted either, because he went from being this kind of cool character, he was the bodyguard of Shawn, sure, but he was a guy that he was just Big Daddy Cool. He said he didn't really care. He was just kind of a chill, laid-back guy. He started immediately becoming like a pandering babyface. Like, literally, the next Raw, came out with Vince McMahon. He's told, Kevin Nash actually cut a promo a year later on Raw about how he was in Titan Towers, how they told him he needed to change his character. I'm going to take my photo of that picture because it makes me feel weird. Anyway, so in my opinion, this was the beginning of not a huge downfall of WWF, but there was a lot going on that this was definitely part of it. And, alright, so I'm starting my rebooking. Let's go back to the Madison Square Garden show. Okay, so the Madison Square Garden show, instead of having Diesel, first of all, we'll either rework the card because Shawn was hurt here, Diesel was tag champ. He's going to have in this storyline, he's going to have a scheduled match, Madison Square Garden, a tag match against Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie for the tag titles, which, the Roadie's the Road Dogg, if you didn't know, and the Roadie, they didn't really compete as a team, but whatever, for this point, we'll just make a team, and Diesel will end up wrestling the match handicap and win. In the main event, though, Bob Backlund will defend against not Bret Hart, still selling, not against Diesel, our man Lex Luger. Because Lex Luger at this point was basically, he was done, like, as a face, you know? As a big face. He was not really that important. And I'd actually have a good way to finish a match where the Lex Luger cuts him up in the torture rack, but like Bob Backlund hits him with an eye rake and he jumps behind him. And he locks in the crossface chicken wing. And then similar to Brett, Lex doesn't tap, but the arm falls down 3 times. Alright, so that's taken care of. Now let's go to Raw. First thing we get is Diesel in a match against Jim Neidhart. First match of Diesel like on TV as a babyface. And he's going to just come in the ring and he's going to do what he did to Bob Backlund in real life, but Jim Neidhart is going to beat him like 30 seconds or 3 seconds because this is a much more powerful thing to do on TV. And also, Jim Neidhart, no offense to him, but he was not anywhere near even the top guy. He was just a heel. And the story here could be that Jim Neidhart's mad at Diesel for costing him the Survivor Series match a few days earlier because he walked out. Well, Shawn walked out and he chased Shawn. They got counted out or whatever. Anyway, after this, though, I would have Diesel get the mic and he would cut a promo and he would say free things in his own Diesel way. You know, keep him the same character, but he would basically say, like, Shawn Michaels tried to make him a lackey. He said, a lot of people, he would say something like, people didn't know me. I've been here like a year. Nobody really knows me. They think I'm just Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. He goes, no, I was Shawn Michaels' friend. I was never Shawn Michaels' lackey, never his henchman, but he tried to make me that. Like, especially after SummerSlam, when I became Intercontinental Champion and he wasn't, I could see the jealousy grow in his eyes. It's like, that's when I knew I had to watch him. And at Survivor Series, he made his final mistake. And he says something like, Shawn, we are not even close to finish. I know you're hiding right now. You're claiming an injury. And that takes him to the second point about the tag titles. He says, now, Shawn, he claims to be injured, and I have no plans to ever team with him again. So, as far as I can see, the tag team, I could probably, he says something like, I maybe could defend these tag titles. And he has them in the ring when he says, I could defend these tag titles on a regular basis. And probably do a pretty good job, but that would be a disrespect to all the great tag teams here. And I've always been a fan of tag team wrestling, and there's a lot of great ones here. And you know what? I talked to Gorilla Monsoon, and he agreed, this is the last time you're going to see me walk with these tag team titles in the ring because there's going to be a tournament starting next week to crown new champions, you know? And the very last thing he says is that he now has a goal. His new goal is that he doesn't want to be a tag champion. He has 2 goals. He says New Year's coming up. He's got 2 New Year's resolutions. To beat Shawn Michaels and then become the World Wrestling Federation World Champion. And almost just like that, like clockwork, starts the music of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He comes out with a talk in a suit, and he starts talking to Diesel about joining the $1 Million Corporation. He basically says, Shawn never treats you like an equal. And I see you as an equal. I see you as a man who can bring the gold home to the $1 Million Corporation. I believe in you. And he says, let's face it, Diesel, I know your worth, and it's millions of dollars, and I can take you to the promised land. I can take you to the top. And Diesel says, you know what, thanks, but no thanks, but you ain't really done that many guys, that many favors lately, have you? And then Tatanka kind of moves towards Diesel. We start getting this tense little scene, you know, oh, is he going to attack him? But Ted tells Tatanka, no, wait, Tatanka, and he goes, hold on, Diesel, look, I'm going to get this, just think it over. Look, don't talk about it right now. I'll give you, just give yourself 2 weeks to think about it. 2 weeks to think about it, and then give me your answer in 2 weeks, you know? And so Diesel starts to leave, and he says, okay, fine. Kind of treat it ambiguously, you know? Like, don't necessarily make it outright. Like, he's a face, but don't make it outright. Like, maybe he's going to join me on the corporation. We don't know. Kind of like what they did with Jon Moxley in the Inner Circle in AEW. But as he's leaving, though, Ted also gives him, here's something to help you maybe move things over. He gives him like a $100 bill. And Diesel looks at the money and goes, well, I appreciate this, Ted. I'm a man who loves to work for his money. And I've always learned a long time ago, you never take money from somebody unless you're expecting to do something for them in return. And he grips the money in half. Like, just cool little moment. That would get the crowd popping and make Tatanka starts getting pissed off. But anyway, and then he leaves the other arena. In the same show, I mean, there'd be a brief Owen Hart promo where he starts talking about how he watched the tape over Survivor Series, because I love Owen, so I'm going to put him here. He says he watched it over, and he thought about what he did over, and he said now that he's rethought about it, he feels even better about what he did. He's proud of what he did. He's happy he finally calls Bret Hart the world title, because he was an egomaniac, and that's all he cared about. He didn't care about his brother or his family, and now Bret's gonna have to retire. He's saying like stuff like that. He says the only thing he regrets, he couldn't do it in his own hands. That will be important later. And there'll also be a match with Owen after this, like he beats a local talent guy. Oh, no, wait, he has a match against Sparkplug, like a 5-minute match against Sparkplug Holly. Let's say that. And Sparkplug gets a little off into him, but Owen wins. Not like 8 minutes, you know. Owen doesn't mind. You know, he's a guy, he can have a good match with almost anybody. Goated man right there. And then in the main event, we'd have Bob Backlund cutting a promo as the WWF champion, saying how now he's a role model for the kids. The kids these days, they're all punks. They're all losers because their parents don't raise them right. And he's going to be the role model they need because their parents have failed them. And out comes the 1-2-3 Kid. The 1-2-3 Kid says, Bob Backlund, I do respect you, and I think you are a great wrestler, but two things. First of all, I don't agree with what you're saying about these kids. And two, you beat Bret Hart, but I think maybe, he says, I think I could beat you. And Bob Backlund kind of laughs. He goes, you know what? This is what I'm talking about. You're a miscreant. You're a man who, sorry about that. Like, you're a man delusional, confused. He starts saying all these big, dollar store, like Walmart words. So I don't know. So funny thing like that. And so 1-2-3 Kid goes, well, what's the? He's like, oh, look, you don't have to give it to. And then also he brings up the fact I just defended my title. I just beat 2 of the top guys in the World Wrestling Federation in the last week. And you expect me to come out here right now and wrestle you when I haven't even prepared? And he goes, 1-2-3 Kid goes, no. You don't have to wrestle me now. In fact, I'll give you 3 weeks. You can have until Christmas Eve, because I think that would be the Raw, like in 3 weeks from this Raw, whatever. Anyway, let's just say it is, whatever. And then Bob Backlund goes, he starts thinking about it. He goes, you know what, kid? I don't think you deserve a shot, but I'll tell you what. I'll give you a chance. Next week on Raw, if you can say every president's name in order of when they served in office, and without missing a single one, I will give you a shot on Christmas. So the kid's like, yeah, okay. And that's how that Raw ends. Now, move ahead a little bit. Like the next week on Raw, we just get to start a tag tournament. Nothing real big. No real biggie, so to speak. And, as you do. Oh, also in this scenario, Macho Man has not left WWF. I've had him. I'm like Vince. I'm not a dumbass who doesn't let him wrestle because I'm gonna do commentary because he's quote unquote too old, even though he's like younger than Bob Backlund, and it makes no sense anyway because he had plenty of old wrestlers. So in this one, he's gonna resign like into a limited deal. He's starting at the Royal Rumble. Is basically where it's gonna start. He's gonna be in the Royal Rumble match. But anyway. So we have this promos from Diesel, kind of talking about how he's going to make his decision on Christmas. We find out there's an Intercontinental title match on Raw. I forgot, I skipped the word of 1-2-3 Kid. The 1-2-3 Kid part basically is he comes out, he starts doing the presidents in order. Have him prepare like for a week and make sure, because it's a tape show, you can have him tape this up if you want. And, I think Shaw Waltman would do good on it anyway. But near the end, he's like near the last 3 presidents. Bob Backlund is outside the ring and he's watching this, and all of a sudden he's starting to realize, oh, this guy might get it. So he jumps in the ring to try to attack the kid, try to get in the crossface chicken wing before he can finish. But the kid kind of senses him coming, and he jumps up in the air and does the splits while Bob Backlund's coming for him. And then as soon as he turns around, he hits him with a spin kick, and he gets the mic. He says the last 3 presidents' names, and he throws the mic down, and he says, see you on Christmas, Bob. And he throws the mic down, and then we kind of build that up too. But anyway, on the Raw before Christmas Eve, the Intercontinental title match between Razor and Tatanka for the $1 Million Corporation. This match it opens Raw, and it's let them have a pretty good match. I think they could have a pretty decent match. And then near the end, Razor wins, but near the end he gets attacked by King Kong Bundy and IRS of the corporation. And out comes Diesel, and everybody's like, oh, because he has history with Razor. They were feuding before, like, oh, he's gonna hit Razor, So he kind of looks at Razor, he picks up Razor, all of a sudden he turns, and he punches Tatanka down, and then of course everybody starts freaking out. Razor starts like slapping IRS, King Kong Bundy gets booted, and he like rolls out of the ring, and Diesel gets the mic, goes, in case you haven't guessed by now, $1 Million Man, the answer is no, I'm my own man. And then the next week on the Raw on Christmas, 1-2-3 Kid and Bob Backlund have a really good match, but in the end, Bob Backlund beats 1-2-3 Kid clean. And on this Raw, we're also told Bret Hart will be making his return the next week on Raw. For an announcement, not an announcement, but like his return, not in the ring, but he's going to cut a promo, and he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, we already announced. The next Raw, we actually have a huge match announced at the end of that Raw. It's announced later in the Raw before Raw ends, where it's going to be, in the Christmas Raw, where it's going to be King Kong Bundy and Kevin Nash. Diesel! Bob Backlund, they call it Kevin Nash, I thought it was funny. And the winner gets a title shot at the Royal Rumble. So, that match happens. And of course, Diesel wins. He would win not with a jackknife, because I don't think he could jackknife King Kong Bundy, no offense to Diesel. But he would do like a flying clothesline for the second rope and beat him with that. It would make him seem more versatile. And that would be kind of one of the points they said, like, oh, he can't get him up for the jackknife and stuff. And you have Ted outside, of course, causing havoc. And though Diesel wins, and we get a brief segment between him and Backlund, where Backlund says, babe, you might be big, but you're not smart. And I've beaten 3 of the top wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation. And I know you're going to be next on my list. And of course, Diesel's just like, you know what, Bob? You've been a great champion. But now, that's past tense. He says something like that. You've been a great champion, but that's past tense. Now I will be the greatest World Wrestling Federation champion. And now, Brett, you might be thinking, Brett, it's kind of weird bringing Brett back and having him into the Royal Rumble. But there's two reasons. One, the Royal Rumble needs star power, and him and Macho both inside gives it that. And two, he really at this time he shouldn't have been fighting Diesel anyway, and that saves the match between him and Bob Backlund potentially for later if you want to do it, because you could do it if you wanted to. And I don't worry, but I'll explain the Mania card, or at least part of WrestleMania 11 card, right here at the end. So anyway, let's kind of, and of course Brett was doing the whole thing with Jerry Lawler and William Shatner around this time. Like he didn't even really pay any attention to Diesel, so like he was barely feuding with him. Anyway. So, alright, let's skip ahead a little bit to the Royal Rumble. Now, the Royal Rumble is won, just like real life, by Shawn Michaels. Of course, it'd be a little better show now because you have Macho and Brett in there. And presumably Owen, who's not taken out real fast because he didn't interfere in the match with Diesel and Brett. Diesel and Backlund, this match is a wrestling match. It's not a squash, if you're wondering. No, I'm not going to do that. Backlund, at one point, he does get the crossface chicken wing on Diesel, but he's standing. And Diesel, like, backs him in the corner. He kind of rolls him up to do a snake eyes, hits a big boot. He goes for the jackknife, but Bob Backlund is actually able to briefly reverse it by hooking the leg and getting Diesel down and kind of hooking like a little heel lock, but Diesel boots him in the face, and then a little while after that, Bob Backlund goes for the second crossface chicken wing. Gets it applied a little better. Diesel starts falling, but he starts doing a comeback, elbows him in the stomach a few times, rolls him over his head like a judo throw, and then as Bob Backlund's coming to running him, boot to the stomach, jackknife powerbomb, just like that. And Shawn wins the Rumble. And then WrestleMania, and I feel like this would be better because Backlund would still, he would have a 3-month reign. It'd be a short reign, but he would have had 3 great matches, and he would have had a great match on Raw, and he would have been pretty much treated like an actual threat and a big heel. And he still would have like a lot of value as heel, in my opinion, because you still have the match with him and Brett and a rematch of that. And at WrestleMania, I would have him take on the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Because basically he would be like, oh, I'm a better World Wrestling Federation champion than you, Macho. And Macho like, no, you aren't. And there you go. Shawn would have his match against Diesel. And just like real life, he would lose because Diesel, I'm not going to have Diesel lose the title in 3 months. Even though Diesel, I wouldn't have him hold a year, but I would have him hold a little longer, probably till SummerSlam at least. And then maybe make Shawn beat him. What else? You still have, and then Bret Hart, if you're wondering, would face Owen Hart in a match they did on Raw, but this would be with more time at WrestleMania, the no holds barred, the final encounter match between those two. That's how I'd book it, and that's exactly how I booked the Bob Backlund title reign, the Diesel title, at least the beginning of Diesel title reign, the passing of the torch. I feel like this would be a lot better. There would be so much done better here. It would be a better show, and not only that, you're giving people a chance to tune in to Christmas Raw to see like a world title match. You might get more viewers like that. And one thing if we could get another title shot is pretty cool too, in my opinion. But anyway, that's how I would book it. That's how I do the Bookerman for Backlund Diesel. And let me know what you think, if you like it or not. Bye.